Look, it doesn't matter if it's your first drift day ever or you've been drifting for almost 2 decades like me. Safety better be one of your top priorities when you're hitting the track, and Velocity USA has you covered. Based out of North Carolina, they literally have you taken care of from head to toe with regards to safety equipment, whether it be helmets, Hans device, custom made race suits, gloves, shoes, undergarments, everything to be able to make you FIA and SFI certified, as well as also having teen and children's safety equipment. You need crew apparel? They can take care of you too with their custom made crew logo shirts for both adults and children. Check them out at velocita-usa.com or on social media at Velocity USA on Facebook and Instagram. And make sure to use promo code TDD10 at checkout on their website to save 10% off on all Velocita branded products. All right, enough with the jargon. Let's get down to business. My guest is a close personal friend of mine. We've been drifting together for over a decade now. Started in some crap boxes, but we are definitely in some really cool cars, have a lot of really cool experiences, and you may recognize him from a TV show or two. So let me get the chance to be able to introduce you guys to Mr. Tay Whiteside. What's going on, brother?
What's happening? What an intro, man. Thanks for having me on.
No, I know we've been trying to line our schedules up. You've been doing life, and we've been seeing each other more, I think, in the last, 2 months than we have in the last 2 years.
Yeah, well, I like how you say line our schedules up. You just forgot we were supposed to film yesterday.
Okay, so what had happened was I say Tuesday, and I thought next Tuesday, and I own my mistake. So, yes, that is on me. I'm human, people.
Yeah, it's all good, man.
forbid.
You got pizzas to spin. I get it.
One thing or another, I got something to spin. But we're here, and that's all that matters.
Dude, I was literally, as you were reading the sponsors, I was taking notes. I was like, okay, I do need a racing suit, so I'll use that code. I have stage wheels, so I should look into the driver program. Like, this is good for me, man. It's 2025 drift season looking good.
If I can't help out the homies, I'm doing something wrong. There's nothing about that that's true. Now, I know who you are as a human being and as a drifter, but please inform the audience, who is Tay Whiteside and how did Tay get into drifting?
Oh boy. Yeah. Well, hello everyone. My name's Tay Whiteside. I live in Roanoke, Virginia, and I have for my whole life, really. I'm 31. I own a custom metal fabrication company called Lift Arc Studios. If you can't tell, we have merch. But as far as drifting goes, I guess, yeah, like Chris said, I've been drifting for on and off about 10 years now, which I just watched your Kylie Mackey episode. He made me feel like I haven't been drifting at all. That dude's been driving for 22 years. That's insane. And I actually kind of, in like my end of high school, early college days, I spent some time with some guys that were sort of that era. Justin Wu, and some of those other guys. That was the first RBS chassis I ever saw at a car meet. And, we were driving to a Virginia Tech car meet one time, and he just ripped the e-brake on 81 at like 70 miles an hour. And I was like, I want a car that does that because that's sick. But yeah, I guess I was, if you want to launch right into the origin story, I suppose it all started, with like Fast and Furious, Need for Speed video games. I can't remember which one came first, but I told my uncle I wanted to borrow Too Fast, Too Furious, which is actually where I started the franchise. I didn't even watch the first one. I watched the second one.
Started with Tyrese and Eva Mendes.
Yes, and Paul. Yeah, and
Ludacris and
Paul Walker said, "Forget about it, cuh," and I still say that all the time. It was started ironic, and now I just say "cuh" like I can't, and I can't for sure because I'm so white that I'm pink. If you can see in the video. So it had to start there because I definitely borrowed it from my uncle and never gave it. I still have that copy of Too Fast, Too Furious now, and I was probably like 10. So I knew cars could go sideways, and now I'm not of the generation that came up like watching Initial D or like the option stuff or all the like early wave DVD magazine stuff that like made it over here. But the guys that I guess hung out with were definitely, inspired by that sort of thing, that generation. So I sort of got it secondhand, and I owe a lot of my JDM car love to my buddy Carlo, who I went I've known since like 4th grade. It was funny. He and I were best friends from like elementary school to college. We lived together. You can't tell because I'm sitting. I am 6'7", and Carlo was this like 5-foot Filipino kid, maybe shorter. I don't know. And we were attached to the hip, and we didn't think anything of it. We were just used to the height difference, and people would see us together, and we're just totally, he looked like my little brother or something. But this kid was super plugged in to like the JDM car world. In high school, he had an SC 300 that was lowered on work Rezacs, the old 5-spoke work Rezacs, not the new stuff, like the older like 5-spoke deep dish Rezacs, and it looked so sick. And I had a Fox Body Mustang at the time, which I bought from my uncle. He should never have sold me that car. But I had, so senior year in high school, I had a Fox Body Mustang GT 5-speed T-top.
Oh yeah.
302 car hatchback that had like a mostly like Celine conversion done. It had the mesh BBS wheels and like the vinyl package on the side and the big duckbill spoiler. It was a sick car.
Mm-hmm.
I bought it from my uncle for like $3,000 or $4,000. He should have never sold it to me.
Because that's nothing these days.
Yeah. And this was, for context, I graduated high school in 2011. So
still, that's, oh my gosh.
So I had that car coming out of high school, and Carlo had his SC 300, and the two of us would get into all sorts of trouble. I mean, he and I together got a reckless driving on private property charge at a local middle school for like trying to drift around the little like track bus parking lot area. Lots of just hooning around streets. Never really did like street racing. I had never really had any interest in racing. It was mostly just like, I want to go sideways, do burnouts, that sort of stuff. And thank God the whole takeover generation didn't happen when I was in high school, because I would have been probably moth to a flame. But I'm really glad like controlled drifting and car control hit me before like running over your friends and doing donuts in intersections hit me, because that stuff is lame. And I don't care if you like it, it sucks. I'm sorry.
Thank you. 100% agree.
I figured that's what you meant by like this like last question that you see. What's one major thing you see people doing online that they need to stop doing immediately? It feels like you're talking directly about takeovers.
Interpretation is for everyone. Interpretation for everyone.
Okay, yeah. So I end up totaling that Fox Body.
Ooh.
And I T-boned a woman on a highway at 55 miles an hour. And that car had no airbag. It was a 1986 Fox Body. Oh. It was the first year of fuel injection and the last year of the 4-eyed headlight situation. It was the best Fox Body to own. And so I'm going down 220. If you're into Southwest Virginia, I'm going down 220 toward the lake, and this woman just pulls out of a side road, doesn't see me. It's drum brakes, and I had like highway Turbo Hawk tires. You know, they don't do shit. So I locked up all 4 wheels. I slam into this woman at like 50 miles an hour. The whole front of the car. Luckily, the hood is super long, so the whole car just accordions. And I had a like eBay racing steering wheel on it at the time, and I tensed up so hard that I ripped the rim of the wheel off the hub. I still have it. I have just the rim.
Mother of Mary. The
spokes stayed attached to the column, and I just went, Kuh! And I blacked out for a second, but I didn't hit my head or anything. I just like, you're preparing to die essentially. And then you're like, oh, okay, I'm good. I had just bought a pack of cigarettes, and I was running an errand for my dad, and I didn't know how to handle crisis at that time. So the woman I hit her in the rear quarter panel, driver's side, but rear quarter panel.
Mm-hmm.
Her trunk flew open. It was full of papers. So papers went all over the highway.
Oh.
The shitty part is the part that like can I cuss on this podcast?
I'm going to bleep it out anyway.
Okay, sorry.
You want, baby.
I should have asked you. I know better. I'm TV trained enough to have asked.
Be you, boo boo. Be you.
Yeah. The bad part was I didn't go check on her. Like for some reason I was so like heartbroken about this perfect car that I loved so much being folded in half that I lit a cigarette and I sat on the curb and I called I think I called my uncle first because I was so embarrassed that I crashed his perfect car. And then I called my dad.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't go check on her, but who knows? I don't remember it very well, but she was moving and I think she ended up being fine. But if she pulled out any later, I would have hit her square in the driver door at 50 miles an hour with a Mustang, and I would have just, who knows? I mean, it was a
Bad news
modern
bears.
Honda Accord, but it would have been bad news.
Yeah.
So that
Gosh.
car was totaled, and it sucked.
Yeah.
And so after that, I remember I was looking for other cars. My parents were going to help me buy another car because that super wasn't my fault. Even the cop was like, look at the skid marks you left on the road. That was super not your fault. You left 11s for like an eighth of a mile. Nothing you can do. And so I had gotten into some trouble in that car, but like in this particular case, it was not my fault. So my parents were going to help me buy another car, which is very generous. I was going to community college. And I guess because I didn't have student loans or I was going to a cheap school, they were like, we sent your sister to VCU. Your education is far more affordable. We'll help you buy a car. So the first car I found was a 1990 300ZX twin turbo that I went to go test drive. And I test drove it. And that, at the time, that was like the fastest car I'd ever driven. It was quick.
They boogied.
It was quick. And then I get home and tell my parents about it, and they were like, how many airbags does it have? And I said, none. And they said, well, you definitely can't have that car. So then, because of the accident, they were like, you need something with airbags now, for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I ended up on E46 BMWs, but I was at Carlo's house, and we were looking at stuff. And my mom, of all people, who was not a car person at all, found a 2004 BMW E46 330 Ci.
Okay.
So 3-liter, 6-speed, 2-door, Mystic Blue, which is like the blue purple metallic, with M Sport wheels and an M Sport bumper, like meticulously maintained by this guy in Blacksburg who had, I guess, upgraded to an actual E46 M3. So like this was the poor man's M3. And I think my mom paid like, at the time, like 10 grand for this car, 11,000. Yeah, it was pretty fair.
2012, 2013.
Yeah, so the car was only like, 7 years old or something like that. Right. And it was perfect. I mean, this thing, I think I got it before. It was right at 100,000 miles because he was so anal that he was like, wow, I'm going to sell it. Yeah. So this car was the nicest car I've ever owned by far. And I set to work destroying it immediately. I'm sure I babied it for a while. I did the only thing I knew how to do to cars at the time, which is paint the wheels different colors. I had a plasti dip phase, and then I learned, I used to build custom furniture at my dad's business, Dog Salvage. So like I knew how to like prep and paint properly. So then I was like, all right, let's, bronze. And then there was a gunmetal gray, and then I found gecko green, which is what the new Jeeps at the time were coming in. So I had like a dark blue BMW with these bright green wheels, and I think I did like some H&R lowering springs, but that was like the extent of my and like drilled and slotted rotors, like all the stuff you end up doing first, which is good. I mean, I recommend anyone that's like just got their license or whatever, like do that stuff, do brakes, screw with your wheels, intake, whatever. Don't go crazy. So you have to retune the car, but like do that stuff, do bolt-ons. It's a lot of fun. Suspension, you can learn a lot doing suspension and stuff. So that's the car I had when I went to my first drift event.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, so I had that car. Sorry, am I talking too much?
Absolutely not.
This is what the show is.
This is exactly what I need to hear.
So I had that car into high school. No, I think I was in college. That's when the crash happened. I got the car. Right. I didn't graduate college. I was going for mechanical engineering technology. And at the time, I was a volunteer firefighter. I was a college student, and I was essentially working full time with my dad at Black Dog, and
Right.
we had just been picked up for a national television show called Salvage Dogs, which ran on the DIY network. Me and my family were on it for 8 years. We filmed 11 seasons. It ended up being a pretty big fork in the road that is my life, and led to all sorts of other opportunities, most of which I'm sure I've squandered, but took advantage of a few, and things have worked out a little bit. But so at the time, I was sort of running with, was friends with a guy named Corey Landis and Justin McLaughlin, and through Carlo, actually. So Carlo was really plugged into the forum. So Carlo was on
Yes.
Nico Club
Uh-huh.
and Zilvia.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even one more. There was a VA United forum, which was just
There was
a
also like VA 240 or was it VA 240 SX or something like that?
Yeah. And there was
Yeah.
another, because Carlo had that SC, so he was in all the like, Supra forums.
Mm-hmm.
He was in that one. And so through, I think it was Nico Club or Zilvia, Carlo met Justin Wu, who, old school homie. He's probably a good 10 years older than me. And I know that because when we hung out, all he would do was reference like 80s movies. And I would never, Justin, if you ever listen to this, just know I'm still sorry that I never got any of your movie references. He'd
He's
be
older
like,
than me
what?
too, so
He's like,
yeah.
what? How have you never seen? And I'm just like, I was born in 93, bro. I'm sorry. So that's like those were my car friends at this time. And so I knew what drifting was. I had seen like drift cars. Shout out, there was a guy named Mark Wheeler had an SR 240 hatch. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I didn't meet him until I started drifting. So the first time I ever went to a track,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think if I drifted this BMW. I definitely drifted the Fox body in like some underground parking garages and stuff like that.
Very Tokyo Drift.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like country boy, like 5-speed rear wheel drive, like muscle car. I wonder if you know. So
Fast and the Furious Roanoke Drift.
yeah, for sure. There was no one. So Roanoke is a very weird. I'm sure there's many small towns across America that feel this way, but for me, Roanoke has always felt like it is just a classic. Like you're either a Honda guy or you're a muscle car guy. There's like nothing in between. You know what I mean? And so a lot of drag strips, a lot of circle tracks. That's it. And I say a lot. There's not even really that many. So drifting was always just, it was even more underground than like skating's not even really skating. BMX wasn't even really big in Roanoke, and still really isn't. Although the Roanoke Skate Park Initiative is going to hate to hear me say that. And I'm actually building a shelter for the new skate park. So I should say, yeah, skateboarding's coming back. I skated too, for sure, all through
We're
high
only
school
still
and
talking
college.
about 2012. It's not like, today. I think
Yeah.
it's still safe to say you were on the right track.
Yeah. And I guess, you and I were, the internet started after we did. So like we grew up, MySpace hit, Facebook hit, and like, all that stuff. So like, I've heard skaters tell the same story that old school drifters talk about, like the Initial D. They see the old like 411 films and like Rodney Mullen stuff.
Yeah.
Like everything has like the information era like kicked off, like springboarded a lot of people into these hobbies that then became sports. Like Kylie said it, like he was very lucky to come up in that time, and like Forsberg got a real big head start, and a lot of these other people. So I was just laying in bed one night, and I had the BMW, hadn't done anything with it. I think I took it to like a track day one time, like an HPDE at VIR, which was just grip driving, which by the way is sick. If you want to like learn how to control a car, HPDE events are awesome, because if they're still the same, it was either through NASA or SCCA, but like mine was like a 2-day event. It was like a weekend. And the first day was like mostly classroom, where you're sitting with a bunch of people and they teach you about like, lift off oversteer and braking zones and all this stuff that most people don't just learn by hooning on a dirt road, like how to preload your suspension and how, when you downshift at speed and you don't rev match, it's basically like pulling a handbrake, like all these things that are really good to learn if you want to drive a car aggressively.
Yeah, not
So
taught in driver's ed.
yeah, God, no. I think 90% of drivers in America need to go back to driver's ed, but now I just sound like an old guy. Um, so I knew how that chassis felt on the edge of control, and an E46 is such a great balanced chassis.
It really is.
I mean, I think it's near 50-50 weight distribution. They're a little heavy. And some of the differential stuff gets a little complicated, which is why you should just weld it. I think that's what I ended up doing.
Yup.
But so I'm laying in bed and I get a text or a message from Corey. I think it was Corey. And he said, "Hey, there's this thing going on at VIR." This was like on a Friday night. And he goes, there's this thing going on at VIR this weekend, as in tomorrow. And it's a skid pad event. Some friends of ours have rented out the skid pad at VIR, it's so crazy to me because fast forward to Hyperfest last year, I'm dragging the wall in my 1J 240SX. And that's literally the place where I learned how to drift, that square of asphalt. So I was like, oh God, okay. I don't have extra wheels, tires. Like, this is my daily driver. I'm living with my parents' house at my parents' house still. I think it was in that brackish period where I was drinking a lot and smoking a lot and pretending like I was still interested in college while also working and starting to be on like a TV show and having to realize that I also can't be a firefighter. Also, I had this weird hypocrisy about being a firefighter at that time because I was a partier, and it was just like a lot of guys in the fire service were like straight edge and weird, and they're just like, I'm better than you because I save people. And it's like,
yeah,
I was just doing burnouts in a muddy field last weekend while very drunk. I don't feel like I should be here. That being said, I had a better attitude than most people. I actually liked being a firefighter, and I didn't just do it to like try to impress girls like a lot of these other scumbags that I ran with. But we won't get into that. I don't want to smear anybody. So I had a lot going on, and it was I guess what I'm trying to say is I didn't have a whole lot of F's to give at this point. I was just like, screw it. Yeah, this is a really drifting's dumb in its own right. If you want to write it into a math equation, like pros and cons for, I guess, the protecting your car, like it's very dumb. It's all negatives for the longevity of your car. So, but I was like, yeah, dude, I want to try so bad. I'm like, I think Corey told me, he goes, I was really worried about tires. And Corey was like, well, if you get the rears get low, just put the fronts on the back and the back on the fronts. And I was like, dude, you're right. That's like twice the amount of rubber.
Help.
Yeah.
Help.
Such a good idea. You're genius. So I was like, yeah, dude, I'm in. I don't even remember if I needed to pay anything or whatever. So I go and I drive the car there. So in Roanoke, where I'm at, VIR is only like an hour and a half south.
Okay.
Which is sick. Like, it's the closest racetrack to where I live, but it's the one that has drifting at it the least throughout the year.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a bummer. I have to drive 3 hours pretty much every time I want to drift, which is because everything's by you. Everything's like, if you're in Maryland or like East Coast, Virginia, you get all sorts of stuff. I know grass is always greener, but
yeah, I don't know. There's something to be said. I think, in Roanoke, aren't you, a little bit more detached from a lot of the nonsense and the politics and all of that stuff. So it's like there is something to be said to be on that side of the state even.
I guess so. I mean, as a person, I try to stay pretty detached from nonsense and politics because I don't think it has any place in what I still view as like the automotive version of skateboarding. Like I saw my buddy do a kickflip on his cool board, and I want to try to do a kickflip too. That to me is still what drifting is. That is what it will always be. If I can make money doing it, cool. If I make friends doing it, awesome. If I, get to travel, see places, awesome. If none of that happens and I'm still just drifting, awesome. I do not care. Now, of course, I run a YouTube channel about my fab shop, and a lot of those people are interested in drifting. And so, I'm starting to toy around with the idea of like chasing 2025 on the content side and potentially sponsors. I have sponsors here at my shop for our channel, and I already know how that stuff works. So, but I always felt like dirty involving that in drifting because I want it to stay so pure, like I want it to be fun. I don't want to have to get bogged down in like, okay, I got to make sure this person's sticker is here and I say this and I rep this brand and I wear this suit and hat. Like NASCAR guys will like take their helmet off and put their hat on immediately and,
Yep.
make sure all the logos are out. And I don't know. I'm really not that. Yeah. I'm curious your thoughts on this.
I don't think drifting has got there yet, but the universal rule is still true. For anything to progress, it has to be funded.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, having a capitalist mindset or treating it like a business, I agree, shifts your frame of thinking. The amount of fun you have obviously is going to drop. The amount of your heart's in it may or may not drop just because if you enjoy that kind of stuff. But without money, things die. The wheels on the bus go round and round, and your drift car should do the same. Let's be honest, there are so many wheel companies out there. It is definitely hard to choose from. But if you want fair pricing, great customer service, and a super quality product, look no further than Stage Wheels. Out of Richmond, Virginia, Stage offers 4 different wheel styles in multiple offsets, bolt patterns, and sizes to fit your application. Even better, use promo code TheDirtDrop for 10% off at checkout at www.stagewheelsna.com to be able to save on your next order. Also, be sure to check them out on Facebook and Instagram, Stage Wheels. And that's just, I'm a realist at that sense. So
yeah, I mean, someone told me once the only way to make $1 million as a race car driver is to start with 2.
yeah,
like
absolutely,
it's
fastest way.
Yeah, and I get it. I mean, I support my drifting habit by running my business, and would it be great? I mean, I have a local guy, shout out to Jason at DFA Performance, he'll match any tire deal that exists anywhere. If I buy 10, I can get them for way cheap.
Right.
And he's a local business as well, so I feel double good, get cheaper tires and I help out a buddy of mine. And like I got my wheels powder coated for free and and that's the guy, Lucas, Powder Coating Creations, who does all of my powder coating here at Lift Art. He did all my wheels for free and I put, I tag him in all the stuff and I put his logo on my trunk. So like, those are like the only 2 sponsors that have like helped with my drifting career, which is it's not a career at all. But I'm open to more. And like, I know how the game is played, but I've already seen like running my metal shop and like cause we peaked last year for YouTube and just there was a moment we were like, this is working. Let's push all of our chips into the center. I hired another guy and then it tabletopped and then it plummeted. Part of which was like an algorithm screw up that they did trying to make like 3-minute long shorts. If anybody makes a living on YouTube, how the last few months have been because they borked it completely. Like they did something so stupid, like multi-million subscriber channels were like getting no views because they screwed the algorithm completely with shorts and whatever else. So it was probably that. And also like, our channel was getting outwardly less genuine. Like it was becoming more because we had more sponsors and therefore we had to use more opportunities in all the videos to talk about our sponsors. Like, Shop Saber, shout out, they're our first sponsor. They're the ones that make my CNC plasma table. And I bought the first one. They gave me the second one because of how good the videos were. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about like Flexi, people that gave me a stand-up desk or a laser level or, things that like aren't really worth in lift arc of 2 years ago, we never would have made a full video on a standing desk.
Exactly. No,
And like
yeah.
now that they want you to make a long form video. They want you to make a short form video. They want you to tag them in their social media. And a lot of people, early starting out creators, will just say yes to everything because they're like, oh, cool. Like money, stuff, like this and that.
Yep.
But, and I say this because it happened to me. You have to be so careful not to dilute your channel, because people have really good BS filters now. And so the second they think they're being sold to, they're like, screw you, dude. You're a sellout. You know, I get it all the time in comments like, this channel used to be such and such, and now it's too bad that this and that. I'm like, you would do it too. I promise you would do it too. Like
100%.
anybody
100%.
in any one of our positions gaining some, like we have 75,000 subscribers now on YouTube, which is not nothing.
That's fantastic.
And we make right now we make barely 4 figures from ad revenue. Like,
That's
think about how
insane.
long it takes you to get 75,000 subscribers, and think about if you buy camera gear, if you take it seriously and you're editing a lot, like that is no money.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you know, and that's probably indicative of like this last year we've had like kind of losing having a bit of a, you know, identity crisis. But I think above all, people like people that are excited. Like, you got to keep your passion, make sure you don't get bummed out and you're not a bummer on camera.
Right.
And you need to stay genuine. I know this isn't like a content creator podcast, but like it sort of goes hand in hand.
It puts me in perspective for something I was thinking about while you were talking about that. So drifting is genuine. This is just a bunch of skateboard kids, that skate park vibe. Now, when you're seeing that, you know, you had this pitfall last year on YouTube, and I want to relate this because I've been at this point in my drifting career at the same time. What is like one moment like in your drifting career that like you just like it just defeated you and you really questioned wanting to get back into drifting? I know we all have those. Car goes on, needs to go on marketplace. Everything fire sale this today. What was one of those moments for you?
Dude, I've got a good one. So I guess to fill in some of the story I was telling before, E46 skid pad went bad, then went good. You know, didn't know what I was doing. Left that day going, I think I can do this. Ripped that car at multiple swing. Like I think at the time it was Drift Valley was hosting events at Shenandoah. So shout out
Grassroots, I believe, right?
Fresh. Yes.
Like John Combs, Ben Williams.
John and Ben Williams and all those guys. And then, but so the guys that did the skid pad was Jason Richardson and Justin Rudabush, I think was his name. They called him Meaty. This who people now know as the swing set guys. So those are the guys that hosted all the early events that I went to. Now, fast forward, the E46, I drifted that with no handbrake and an open diff for like 2 years. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad I learned to drift in a stock car, because I had to learn things like weight transfer and momentum. And I couldn't rely on a handbrake. I couldn't rely on just clutch, you know, dumping the clutch and having a bunch of horsepower on tap. That car made you get good. You had to you either got it right, or it was a really fine line, or it went completely wrong. You would straighten out in the middle of a drift if you weren't going fast enough because of that stupid open diff. Yeah. And I couldn't save it with a handbrake because I didn't have a handbrake. So that car, I very quickly found my limits in that car, which is really good. I think how many people do you know in drifting now that say they've run out of car? I know almost no one now that it's like, I can be a better driver, but I'm running out of. Most people build some crazy car and they spend so much time learning how to drive it.
No, so I think you're right.
Here's the part of the story where I did exactly that. So the E46 was going well, and turns out the TV show was going well. So I was 21 years old, working at my family business. I had dropped out of college, and we're on a national television show, and I'm making an extra like $14,000 a year as a 21-year-old who's living at his parents with no fucking overhead. Sorry, excuse me.
Big money.
And that's race car money for a 21-year-old.
Absolutely.
You know, and that happened for like 4 or 5 years. So I was fat and happy for 4 or 5 years for sure. And so the first thing I did was I bought a 89 240 hatchback from my buddy Brock Clayton. So he's in the Virginia Tech Car Club group. People call him Uncle B. Brock's a hilarious dude. Really funny hang. Him and Eric Rhombus. A lot of the old school car guys around here will know Rhombus because he's like crazy genius especially in the BMW world.
And he's no square.
Yeah, no, it's definitely this, not this. So I bought a 240 because I was like, it's time. The BMW is, I guess at the time I was like, don't ruin it any more than I have. Time to get a track car. So I bought a $500 240SX that was pretty good shape. It was like primered battleship gray, but everything else was fine. And from Brock, I got like 3 cars worth of like engines, harnesses, suspension parts, 1 chassis, but like 3 cars worth of stuff for $500 back in, I don't know when.
Probably what, 15?
15-ish, 16.
Yeah.
And so then I went to Justin Wu and I was like, what engine should I put in it? And he goes, 1JZ GTE VVTi with an R154 5-speed. And I was like,
done. Perfect.
I think I knew like Supras, 2Js, but like I did not know much about JZs. I was just like, all right, you said the words import from Japan and turbo 6-cylinder. So I'm in. I can't remember what he said at the time, 1J versus 2J, you know. I don't know.
Money.
I just trusted this dude with everything. And I was like, what do I go? And I'm like, you're the guru. Tell me what to do. So, yeah. And I guess 1J was cheaper to kind of get to a point where like.
Absolutely.
It was doing something. So I went to a company called, it was a company in Manassas, Virginia, Northern Virginia, that imported JEI,
Japanese engines. Yeah.
Yes.
Phil B.
Philip Bagdasarian.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yep. And I found on their website a fresh pull 1JZ VVTi with the R154 5-speed for $3,000. That is what I bought. I still have this engine and trans that I still drive today. The trans is very tired as I sit here today, but $3,000 I paid with the ECU and every harness and everything.
Golly.
Complete pull, no wire cuts, nothing, stock manifold, all the stock emissions. It was just freshly pulled, ready to go. And I sat on that engine for several years because I had never built a car from the ground up before. And so I'm piecing all this together. Oh, okay. So the second website I go to is partshopmax.com, and I buy literally one of everything. I buy coils, front knuckles, lower control arms, tension rods, rear drop knuckles with the dual caliper brackets. I think I stopped there and I went to Injuku and I bought like then it was ISIS. Now it's ISR. I bought like one of every of their rear control arms, and then for some reason they didn't have a lower, so I got a Megan lower control arm. And all that stuff is what's still on the car. Everything I bought in 2016 with like
goodness,
dumbass college kid TV money is literally everything I have on the car still. Like, so when I tell people like I cannot afford to build this car today, like I literally wouldn't. Like I went and blew at the time, it was a lot of money then for a 20-year-old that lives at his parents. I spent probably, I don't know, let's just call it $10,000 on all this stuff.
Sounds about 10 with everything you're talking when you're talking.
And then you got, racing seats, fuel cell, all this other stuff. So I know this is not answering your question, but I'm about to. So I put this car together, and I like, other than Justin and his like RB, S chassis, when people saw me building this car online, all my like local friends were like, it was starting to be like, oh shit, did you see Tay? Tay got the best of everything. Like he's building a 1JZ hatch. And I was starting to get excited about it too. I'm like, yeah, I am building a 1JZ hatch. Like it's starting to happen. I sent the harness off to Mark Panic in Oregon. He did the engine harness and all this stuff. I think I ran out of money at some point and just started having to put it together. So no cage, no body kit, nothing, no paint job, no interior. I pretty much spent all my money on suspension and engine and nothing else. And at the time, I really didn't care about body kits. Only in the last few years, I started giving a crap about what the outside of my car looks like.
Mm-hmm.
For some reasons outside of my own brain, but it was worth it. It looks way cooler now. Everybody, Sean, you were right. Brian Eggert, you were right. You were right. It looks better. Thank you. So I have a 1JZ 240 hatch, and I'm 22, 23. The car runs. I'm running stock ECU. I did not open the engine at all. It's just a stock engine. I think I had either the stock. Yeah, I think I was just using the stock fuel tank and just, plumbing it in. I can't remember what I did for fuel.
Makes sense. I mean, for a 1J, you can probably throw in like a 255 Walbro or even a 340 and be good to go.
I don't remember what I did. I have no idea. I was drunk most of the time building that car, if I'm being honest.
Bless your heart.
Speaking of which, cheers.
Hey, cheers.
It's my quick time performance koozie that I stole at PRI 2 years ago. So, now I have a 1J 240, and all my friends in Roanoke want to see it and ride in it. So it's at my parents' house, and I had taken this thing to a few drift events. And it was wild. I'm trying to get to the part where my whole world was turned upside down as fast as I can, but
no, this is great backstory to kind of show how much went and invested into this.
Yeah. And I got very lucky. I mean, everything that led me to being able to build that car was obviously incredibly fortunate. And I still feel lucky. I'm 31 today. This is literally 10 years after I built that car. And I still feel insanely lucky. Like I look at it and I'm like, that's somebody else's car. That's not my car. And I'm sure at this point you've probably put up photos of the car and stuff like that. I have pictures of the first car and what I'm about to describe happened to it. So I've done a few drift events. The car feels awesome. My parents are like, how are you not dead? How did you pull it off? My mom oscillated violently between, I'm so proud of you. How the hell did you build this car from scratch? And like, please God, don't kill yourself. Because the videos you're showing us look extremely dangerous.
Yup.
And so then I'm starting to like borrow trucks and U-Haul trailers. Like I'm starting to like trailer it to events because I'm not going to street drive this death trap. Even though I did years right before, I was a fucking idiot. Right before what I'm about to tell you happened, me and my buddy Christian Runyon drove this car, which was registered and insured, from Roanoke, Virginia to Ocean City, Maryland for H2OI back in like 2017, 2018.
I was about to say, if you went in 2016, you would have seen me with my blue FD RX-7 with my 72-inch wing on the back on 2.5-foot stanchions doing.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I can't remember who I went, but that's when I was starting to roll around with Ed Anderson and Shane and Dan Davis, all the driver motorsports guys. So they're the ones that brought me to H2O. And I did not get a ticket that year. Somehow I stopped going to that stupid show right before it all went like really like tits up. Like it just started becoming a really, really bad place to be.
Right.
I think whoever runs Crispy Media tried to talk me into doing a burnout in a donut in an intersection for one of his videos. And I was like such a pussy at the time. And I was like, absolutely not. I'm still pretty much a pussy when it comes to like street hooning.
Thank God you didn't.
I have too much to lose, dude. I have too much to lose. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I didn't. And then I saw his video and I was like, damn it, I wish I did it. So I make it to and from Ocean City, Maryland in a 1J swapped 240 SX with no windshield wipers, barely working headlights, no interior, one piece exhaust with like a half muffler at the end, sitting on like literal pillows from my bed so that my butt doesn't fall asleep. We took all the pads out of these Corbeau seats so we could sit low enough because Christian's pretty tall too.
Oh my goodness.
So we make it to and from, no tickets. Everything went fine. That car actually drove awesome on the highway. Like an unmodified 1J in a really light car. I think I got like 24 miles to the gallon. It was insane.
Wild.
It was awesome. So I make it home. Everything's awesome. I'm feeling the best I've ever felt. The car is like amazing. I just drove it however many hundreds of miles. It didn't leak. It didn't do anything. So my buddy Hoyt, who now owns a 12-volt car accessory company in Roanoke and is actually killing it. Shout out Hoyt Richardson, Star City 12-volt. He just expanded into a new building. He does like, remote starts, security systems, all that stuff. He brought a trailer over to my parents' house that he wanted me to look at. And as I remember, he wanted to see what it would take to airbag this trailer. And I was a welder, and he was like, I want you to look at this trailer. It was like a utility trailer, too. It wasn't even for like
That's
cars.
weird.
He wanted
Yeah.
to like put airbag. I was like, yeah, bring it over. So he brings it over. We look at the trailer, and then he looks up the hill at my parents' house, and he's like, is that the 240 that you've been building? And I was like, yeah. You want to go for a ride? And he's like, yeah, dude, for sure. So where my parents lived was near Sugarloaf Mountain. The only people who would get these references are Roanoke locals. But if you are, here's some context. Sugarloaf Mountain by the Jameson's apple orchard. It's a dead end road that goes back into the mountain about 2 miles. And I grew up like skating this road, riding bikes on this road. I know this road like the back of my hand. And I put Hoyt in the car. We put our harnesses on, thank God. And we go down to the end of the road to the cul-de-sac, turn around, and then it's like S-curve. So there's this S-curve in the road, which has a drop off on one side to a creek about 20 feet down, and then a dirt wall on the other side. So neither option are good.
Good. No.
Have I ever told you this story, like outside of this? Okay, I thought so. But so I was not like, I had this car figured out like 0%. Like on a track, I could get it. And I didn't have a handbrake. This first car I built, I never had a handbrake. Because I didn't know how to use a handbrake because of how I learned to drift. I was like, I'll get to that later. So I go to this S curve. I was like, I'm going to drift it. And I told Hoyt, and he pulls his phone out. And I don't know how I initiated, but it was way too violently. I initiate the left turn. It went okay, but when I transitioned, I was going way too fast. And so I dirt dropped. How appropriate is that? I dropped the driver's side rear wheel off the road, and this is the dirt wall side of the road. So I drop it off the road. It digs in and grabs the front of the car and slingshots the front of the car into the dirt wall. At which point I go up the wall and I flip the car 180 degrees and land on the roof. So it's airborne, hits the roof, and keeps rolling over and ends up back on its wheels. But the first part of the car that hit the ground was the roof above my head. And I had no roll cage, and I was 6'8" at the time. And I say at the time because I'm literally 6'7" now. I lost an inch of height because of just overall spine compression from this day. And so I'm in shock. I go to try to start the car again out of pure panic. And there's no way the car was going to start. The battery was across the street. The oil cooler was ripped off the front. There was oil leaking everywhere. So when I realized what happened, I kind of came back to earth. I look over at my buddy Hoyt, and I'm just like, I am so sorry. Like, I don't know if I'm admitting to a misdemeanor right now or like
statute of limitations. You're beyond it. You're
yeah,
good.
like
You're
attempted man. Like Hoyt and I are cool. Like we've talked about this many, many times. I still feel horrible because I for sure put my friend's life in danger as well as mine. And I guess if the cops are listening, also other people. I know what I did. Okay, it was stupid. So I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sure I said I'm sorry like 400 times. And I have my I gave him the dad hand, like where you reach over and just like hold I was like, are you okay? So I'm like a mile down the road from my parents' house. And I had the time. So that BMW I was telling you about, I traded for a 2002 GMC Sierra that was lifted 6 inches on 35-inch tires. It's kind of sick, actually. I love that truck. We called it the mullet sled for obvious reason. Excuse me. So I'm in my work boots still. Like, I work as a welder for my dad's company. I'm in my work clothes still. So I sprint to my parents' house a mile down the road, just praying to God I didn't run into a cop or any traffic at all. I was like, I don't want. There's a dead 240 in the middle of the road that will not move, and like, time is of the essence. So I sprint to get my truck and a tow strap, drive it back to the scene of the crash. Hoyt was like, "We're all good." One person came. I was like, "We're fine." It's like, "Oh, okay." So I tell Hoyt to drive the truck, hook it to the 240. The wheels are facing different directions. Nothing. Both wheels on the left side were, the barrels were cracked. They're bent. By the way, I had Wed's Cerberus 1s on this car at this time, which I bought for $600 in Norfolk, Virginia, back in the day.
No!
They were 18-inch Wed Cerberus. They were pretty low spec. They were like 18 by 9, 18 by 8s, pretty high offset, but still, like, they were perfect. 2 of them were broken in half. And so we limped the car back to my parents' house. We go up the hill past the garage, and then we just back it into the garage with gravity. And I shut the doors of the garage, and I take a breath. And I'm like, we're not arrested. We're not dead. We can still walk. We're not paralyzed. We didn't kill anybody. All things being equal, we're okay.
This
We're
is a
gonna
win.
be fine.
This really is a win.
We're gonna be fine.
Let's be honest, it doesn't matter if you have 100 horsepower or 1,000 horsepower. If you don't have tires, you are going nowhere fast as a drifter. That's where Zek Nova comes in. With their broad range of tires available for all horsepower ranges and skill levels, you want to be able to get on board with them to make sure that your drift day is not only fun, but smoky as it should be. From the Supersport RS, the RS 606, and the Mac Daddy JR 500, Zek Nova has a tire offering to be able to make sure that you get the proper size and compound for your build. Make sure to use promo code TheDirtDrop for 10% off when checking out at their website, www.zeknovaus.com, and make sure to check them out Facebook and Instagram, ZekNovaUS.
So I didn't have like super strict parents, but at the time my dad could definitely get really loud. And in my mind, immediately I was like, I think Hoyt filmed that thing, and the first thing I did was like, you need to delete that video 100%. Like, you need to delete all of that. So there was footage of this crash, but it was deleted immediately unless Hoyt is lying to me, and he kept it. Now, of course, sitting here, I would love to have footage of that crash because it was nuts. And then my mind goes to, like, how am I going to tell my parents what happened? I'm pretty sure I tried to tell them that I tried to miss a deer. And they were like, okay.
It's hilarious because there was at least one accident in my pre-25-year-old life that I use that exact excuse for, when I put a pickup truck on a 50-50 to guardrail with the oil pan and just parked it on the guardrail. I was just avoiding a deer. I don't know. Big deer,
enormous deer. Yeah. Yeah, and I had a goose egg on my head that was the size of a baseball, and I ended up, I was in a lot of pain after that, and I went to a chiropractor for like a year, which helped. Some people don't believe in chiropractors. I for sure, after this, believe in chiropractors. That being said, I have chronic back pain to this day. I use a foam roller every day. It's all, I don't know what's going on in there, but it's not as it should be. And I'm literally an inch shorter today than I was then.
Insane.
So, needless to say, I didn't want to touch cars for years after that. I was like, screw this car. And at this point, you can put in I'll send you these photos. I gutted the car. I tore it all apart, scrapped the chassis, which was folded in half, just like put the parts in storage, scrapped everything. I was done. Now, I knew I would be back to drifting, but like for the next 3 or 4 years, I had fallen off the horse and I had no intention of getting back on it. I was like, no, thank you. I'm good. Somewhere in that, though, before I moved out of my parents' house, I did buy the chassis that I have today for $500. I found another 240. I bought it from a guy in North Carolina. So this would have been at like 20. I bought my house in Benton in 2016. So I built that 240. The first one, it must have been 2014.
Yeah, that makes
Crashed
more
it,
sense.
crashed it in 2015. Bought the replacement. So actually, I think I probably bought the replacement car right after the crash, but I didn't touch that car for years. I was like, the deal came up. I knew I needed to buy it, but I was like, I'm just going to move it around. So yeah, I bought a 1990 240 S13 coupe from a guy in North Carolina for $500. It had no front end, no engine. It was just a roller. That deal today is still insane. I mean, it had no
Absolutely.
body damage. It was a HUD car. It was a heads up display car. I remember somebody who gave me shit for that. I think my buddy Trav Stover. He was like, I cannot believe you turned a HUD car into a drift car, and I was like, I didn't even know what that was. Okay, I'm not an Ed Anderson or a Kylie Mackey. Okay, like I was a Mustang guy. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I mean, other than the windshield and then the actual display portion, and then the box that talks to the speedo that does the
Yeah,
actual display.
it's the same car, and
Yeah,
it's
there's not that many differences.
no, and they're making they're talking about it like it was some right-hand drive import. You know, it's not that
Yeah.
cool. That being said, this car was at one point driven by a high schooler in North Carolina, and there's a senior high school parking lot permit still stuck to the back window of my car, which I will never. I almost scraped it off one day by accident, and I was like, "Oh no, I gotta save that," because that's just I love the story of the car. So I
Unlike
buy,
the student magnet that goes from car to car,
yeah, for
student
sure.
driver magnet.
So I bought this car 2015. I buy a house. So my mom, this is funny. The last few checks I got from the TV show, because we knew it was about to end. My mom was like, if you don't do something smart with this money, you're going to be in trouble. Because the first thing you did was build a race car, and you blew that up. So this last, however much it was going to be, $15,000, do something smart, buy a house, do something smart. And in 2016, you had 10 grand sitting in your wallet. You could start the financing journey of many a house. So I bought a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single level ranch out in Benton for like 160 grand. So it's a stellar deal. It had 5-car garage. It had a
What?
it had a 3-car detached garage and a 2-car attached garage. And it was the car guy's wet dream. I mean, it was
Oh my
awesome.
god.
2 acres of land, 160 grand. It was 15 minutes
Yeah.
from downtown Roanoke.
Can't
Could
beat that.
not do that today. Yeah, I ended up selling that house for $320,000 like 7 years later.
Yeah, and then now it's probably $500,000.
Yeah, it's at least you could, if depending on what they did to it after they bought it, they could easily sell it for 4 for sure.
Yeah.
So I bought a house, which is a huge distraction in life, and on and off girlfriends and job getting more serious. And I started my company in 2018. So I had like one serious distraction after another. Therefore, no interest in drift. Well, interest in drifting, yes, but interest in building a drift car, no. And my perfectionism was kicking in, not to mention a little PTSD from the accident. I was like, all right, screw it. The next one has to have an FD cage in it. And the engine was fine. Most of the suspension was fine. So I was like, good. I don't have to buy all that stuff again. I essentially had a drift car kit ready to go because it was the same chassis, same stuff. Call Part Shop Max, get some replacements for what was bent and broken. Still had the drive shaft, re-welded a new diff. Like it was all ready to go, except that I knew I wanted to tube front it and I wanted to have a roll cage. Those two things just requiring time that I didn't have for a long time. Not to mention, I was like, my back still hurts. Yeah, that's the answer to your question. Let's see. I
Anything that
wouldn't.
you regret?
Yeah, I wouldn't delete it from existence by any means, because I think what that crash taught me was no more street driving. Like, don't screw around on the street. It's not worth it.
Well,
Now,
especially
since then, I've drifted on mountain roads, but I'm at that level now. Like, I don't do it.
yeah, with the amount of events and venues and all these like random places popping up, being able to offer events now, not just in our area, but I mean nationwide. There's
Dude, it is
10
on
times the amount of events.
fire. Yeah.
Yeah,
Grassroots drifting is on fire right now. I have never, in the last 5 years, I have never seen so many options for, people have school days. Tracks have so many events throughout the year that they have tiers. They have beginner days, intermediate days, comp days. They spread it out. There's wherever you want to be, wherever you are, there's an event for you, which is amazing. It makes me realize how lucky I was, not only to start drifting when I did, but when you compare that even to like the Kylie Mackeys of the world, who like had nowhere to go. There was no sanctioning bodies.
right.
There was Matt Petty yelling at him for not having enough money to enter the comp, and it was like super small. It was a super small, what am I trying to say?
Well, no, I mean it was a very
Family.
niche. It was
Yeah.
very niche motorsport, and just the idea was so foreign to so many people that
Yeah.
just trying to be able to get that support. I mean, you start anything new, it's going to take time, and
Well, and all drifters are scumbags, right? So like
it's very true.
it was
Absolutely.
a miracle that any of them got any sort of organized event put together. And it was actually usually this makes me think of the Drift Valley guys. It was usually guys that were like really smart, fabricators or engineers that like kind of would drift, but they were the smart guys that would they saw the opportunity to have enough gumption and know how to speak to a track owner in a way that they would allow a drifting event to be hosted at the track. There's a
Absolutely.
bunch of idiot drifters just going like, "Oh, I want to slide my car." The track owner's going to be like, "Okay, well, it costs this much. You need insurance, this and that. How are you going to do this?" And we were just like, "Oh, I don't know." That happens today still. I mean, there's still people that are like, "Screw these guys. I'm going to host my own events." And I'm just like, "Okay, do you know what that means?" And now here's where I'm speaking a little out of turn, because you actually tried to do this, and I went to some of those, and they were all like, that was awesome when you were involved. I guess they still do stuff at SMS, and I'm
Mhm.
not trying to bring up whatever else.
No, 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 no. I mean, your
We've
opinion is
talked about
great.
it
I mean,
some, Star Slide and all that.
mhm, yeah. No, I mean,
As a
again,
driver perspective, sick every time. So like that's all I have to say about that.
no, the background of running one event, let alone operating a racetrack or an organization that goes to multiple tracks like US Drift, and the stuff that they do.
Yeah.
There is, I'd want to say 90% of what we do or what we did or what they do, however you want to phrase it, whatever's done on the back end, completely foreign. And I mean, people who are older like us understand when we start to break it down. But I mean, when you talk to a 21-year-old who it's like their third or fourth event, and you run down the list of you need XYZ before you run an event, and why you're so hard at tech, and why
Right.
you have to have certain rules. It's a lot. And yeah, there are a lot of people that are taking shortcuts, and it's not going to help our push to try to be well respected and pushing into some of these different avenues. One of the things I want to bring up with you is you actually were able to be a part of a one-of-one experience, an inaugural experience in West Virginia, which now has become an annual event, the West Virginia Hill Climb, I believe it's called.
Hillfest. Yeah.
Hillfest. Thank you. Yeah. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, for sure, man. So Hillfest had their first event last August in Snowshoe, West Virginia, at like on Snowshoe Mountain. So it's a ski resort, and during the winter and during the summer, I guess people go mountain biking and stuff. But if you're a Virginia, Maryland person outside, I think there's a few places in Southern Maryland,
Yeah.
but if you're in Virginia, it's like the best mountain to go. It's like the only thing we got. We got Winter Place, Massanutten, and all these other like hills, but like Snowshoe is as close to anything resembling a mountain that we have. And it's actually sick. I went skiing there a few weekends ago, and it's awesome. And I grew up going there, right? I grew
Right.
up going to snowshoe, driving those mountain roads in the back of my family's minivan, and so it was a kind of special place already. And then I made some friends last summer with well, some friends of mine locally who started a car page called Japalachia, and the like four of us hung out. That's the reason my car is painted and has a full livery on it, because my buddy Gresh, who is a industrial design student at RISD in Rhode Island, made that whole vinyl for fun, like drew the whole thing in Illustrator and broke it down to layers, and then we used my like vinyl cutter to like cut everything out by hand, and like there's like 10 layers of vinyl on that car. Like we did it all by hand, and
Wow.
it was so fun. So we did all that over the summer, and because my buddy Jackson and Gresh, they were kind of creating Japalachia, which all Japalachia is a funny name to indicate geographic similarities between where we live in Appalachia and like the terrain in Japan where drifting kind of started. It's eerily similar. It's
Hmm.
very, very similar. Not to mention Jackson and Gresh worked at Ebisu for several years. So like they knew all the guys at Power Vehicles, and like
Wow.
they worked there, and like, would build crappy, chasers, rental car, fix the rental drift cars and all that. And these guys are young. Like I'm 31. These guys right now are like 24. So like they're like
Whoa.
young guys, but like have this really old school love and appreciation for drifting,
Wow.
and hung out with like Andy and all those old guys at PV, and just got like this really authentic old school download from what drifting is. So they're not just like some guys using like what some may consider to be some sort of cultural appropriation. Like Japalachia kind of teeters on something a little controversial, sure, but it's rooted in something really appreciative, and in many ways, I believe, just celebrates that the similarity and all that.
Absolutely.
So that's what Japalachia is. When you see my car, it's all big on the side. Like that's those guys. It's not really anything right now. They sold some merch, but Gresh and Jackson created this amazing Instagram following from nothing. Like we
Hmm.
weren't really doing anything. We were screwing around in the shop, like like messing with cars here and there, but like Japalachia wasn't anything. And yet online it was starting to become a thing. So we met a guy named Trav Stover. Trav is a hilarious dude. Have you met Trav?
I have not, no,
He's
unfortunately.
very funny. And he's plugged in with all the Backroads of Appalachia guys. So this is where I start learning about Backroads of Appalachia is like this nonprofit that has many fingers under, alongside. Anybody out there listening, I'm going to get some of this wrong, and I'm sorry. I only trying to paint the broad picture. There's Backroads of Appalachia, and then there's uh, it's like Roads of Appalachia. There's a
Hmm.
thing that does like cruises, like toge driving, like grip driving on mountain roads, and then there's Drift Appalachia, who are innovators and like the first people to bring like legal on-road mountain drifting, just like we fell in love with from Japan, to, at least so far, the East Coast of America. And it's like it this might be a bit overstated, but it is kind of revolutionary as far as
Absolutely.
like
No, I think it's
drifting
spot
goes,
on.
like for sure. So Trav knows all those guys, and Trav like found Japalachia on Instagram and was like, I'm so this is so crazy. Trav was driving down the East Coast with his R33 Skyline in tow, and he was coming to visit Jed, who was in the hospital in Roanoke because he had a dirt bike accident.
Oh my goodness.
Jed, I'm so sorry for getting your last name. He's a wonderful, sweet, beautiful human being. We had many fun hangs. So anyway, so Trav, this guy I don't know, is coming to visit this other guy I don't know in the town I live. And through Jackson and Gresh, my Japalachia buddies, they were telling me like who it is. And you first meet Trav, he's like this, like, I don't even know how old he is. He could be in his late 30s. He could be like mid 40s. He's like I'm 30, right? You're what, 30? I'm gonna guess 6. Damn, I was good. Trav could be anywhere in there, but he has this shaved gray mohawk that he's had the whole time I've known him, and he talks in bits. Like everything he says is like a punchline and like a joke. Super solid dude, like hilarious, really good hang. And so he knows Jed, who is in the back roads of Appalachia. So that's how I got involved in all that. And so Trav and I hit it off. He hits it off with all the Appalachia guys. We get all jazzed on doing more car stuff. And then so when Tom and Aaron, the two guys that planned and organized Hillfest, or at least brought it into life, alongside the Backroads of Appalachia guys, I don't know how everyone's involved or whose titles. I'm just telling you the people I know. There's a guy named Aaron, a guy named Tom, and a guy named Jed, who are seemingly involved in bringing Hillfest to life. And so Trav, being good friends with Jed, and Trav has now since gone on to be like the chase car for Drift Appalachia. So they'll put cameras on his R33 GTR. It's the white white R33 GTR that you'll probably see in some of those Drift Appalachia videos. That's Trav Stover. And so when Trav heard about Hillfest, it's a hill climb event. The idea is, if you've seen Pikes Peak, that's a hill climb. It's timed. It's like meticulously timed. There's like laser beams at the start. There's laser beams at the top. You're running against the clock. And it's like rally. A car goes every 30 seconds or a minute or whatever. That's what the event was only marketed as. It wasn't marketed as like a drift event. It was like, it's a hill climb event. So like sometime, I guess, in the planning of Hillfest, I guess they decided they wanted to open it up to drifters as well, but like way late, like maybe 2 months before the event was going to be. So it wasn't like an ask. It wasn't like they posted and said, who wants to come drift? Like the invite just sort of spread through. Because I guess, and I get why, you want to vet people. You don't, when it's a tough place to drift, A, so you need to know what you're doing. And B, when you have a fresh thing, this is what I'm learning about events like this, like Drift Appalachia and Hill. It makes sense to control who comes, and because first impressions are everything, right? Like you want the event to look as good as it can look. So you want the cars to look as good as they can look. You want the drivers to be as good as they can be. You want multiple people from different regions to come, so it's equally represented and stuff like that. At least, this is all, I'm just kind of learning all this, and it makes sense to me. But anyway, Hillfest wasn't as cleanly done as Drift Appalachia. It was just sort of like last minute, like Trav was involved and a few other people were all like, who do you know that's drifting at this caliper that could come shred the mountain? And Trav asked me if I wanted to go. And Trav hadn't even seen me drift. That's the funny part. Like he didn't even really know. For all he knew, I could be just some scumbag that just had a cool looking car that didn't know how to drive. Like he had no proof. Now I told him stories of like, tandem nights and all these other crazy events, but it didn't really matter, So I get the invite and I buy, like when I bought my ticket, I bought a hill climb ticket. Like I wasn't even a drifting ticket. I was just like, did I do the right thing? It was a, $350, $400 ticket for what seems to be the wrong event, but we'll see when we go there. So we went, and it was last August, and me and the Appalachia boys went, and the Jackson and Gresh set up a booth at Hill. This was this will probably never happen again, but this was so sick. So Aaron and Tom, the organizers, I guess had also seen Appalachia on Instagram, and they let the guys set up a booth right at the top of the mountain across from the village, like that little pull off. So literally all weekend we were pitting our cars, Trav and I, 20 feet from like the main village at the top of the mountain, like on the main road.
So cool.
And we just like establish his hang. And then we meet people like AK and his wife Maria with Chaos Fabrication. And shout out Yolo and Tom, who are, Yolo's like a factory Ford driver. And, they're out King of the Hammers right now doing crazy stuff. But just, it turned into the coolest hang. Like it was just, they're honestly, as a ticket for an event, it was not worth it. Like if you're just grading it purely on the driving, I maybe went up the mountain 10, 12 times, which I don't know. Saying that out loud, that was kind of sick. But I was grinning ear to ear the whole time. But I could see how people were like, "Oh, it's not worth it," because there was a lot of waiting. You know, this was spread out over 3 days. You know, that was 12 runs over 3 days, which really isn't a lot. But the hangs were immaculate. Dude, we had so much fun. I painted the car for that event, so I had fresh paint coming to that event, fresh powder coated wheels, no vinyl on the car yet. Gresh and I tried to do vinyl at the top of the mountain, and it was so windy that we got like 2 layers on it. We were like, screw this, dude. No way. But it was fine, and we got to, I don't know, dude. I'm so young in this sport, and it was just cool to meet organizers of an event of that scale and become friends with them and be respected by them. Like we were linking, 5, 6 cars up the mountain in tandem trains, and I didn't know any of these guys. Cody Frame, Justin Parsons, the virtual drift guys, some other random, and AK in his like RTR Mustang, like Von Gittenmobile, just like ripping 1,000 horsepower or whatever, and I'm in my 300 horsepower 1J that's overheating the whole time, like, ooh. It was cool, man. It was a fun experience. It was very random. It was pretty disorganized. It wasn't like the best run event, but what was cool is you could tell that like the organizers knew that. They were like, this is Gen 1, this is beta. Aaron ended up calling me several times after the event, the rest of the summer into the fall, just like, hey, I'm thinking about this. What do you think about this? Would drifters like this? If we open it up more, do you think think people would want to come? And I was just like, absolutely. And also thank you for just trusting me in my opinion. That feels good. When somebody's like calls you, I've learned that it can help you a lot in business if you're trying to talk to somebody or learn something from somebody. If you frame it that way, I know this sounds like I'm telling you how to take advantage of somebody, but people like to think that their opinion is valuable, that something is seeking you out based on your knowledge. It's kind of a hype up. Some might call it blowing smoke, but like, I appreciate that when someone's like, hey, you're the guy who's good at this. I'm in a bind or I'm confused. Do you have any advice? And I will always say yes and answer those questions, because it's like, what else did I learn all this stuff for? Like if you have a question about welding, I'll talk your ear off, but yeah. So anyway, I'm rambling a bit at this point, but it was, I would say it was largely positive. Now, I heard on the back end that not everything was positive, but it was done right. It was done legally. I think this guy named Eric Hubbard, who did a really good job. He did with all the politics involved, like the politicians and the local sanctions and all this, like all that was done to the nines. Apparently tourism dollars were up in a time where they normally weren't up, which is the whole point of these things. Like that's something that helps with the town and the localities. People eat at local restaurants and stay at local hotels when they come to the middle of nowhere for these events. Like that's a big positive for stuff like that.
It's like reverse beach town, I mean, like
Yeah.
during that time, they're just not going to get the revenue that they're used to
Mm-hmm.
from probably late October till early March,
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was weird. Like it wasn't summer, but it wasn't winter yet. It was fall, I guess is what you would call that. The season between summer and winter.
Not usually. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So whatever came, I know nothing really about the governing bodies, who approved this, who didn't like that. I know very, very little, and I don't even really care to mention it. From my perspective, it was very positive. I know the first time you do any event is very hard, and you're not going to please everybody. Not everybody that comes is going to have a good time. People are going to have really mixed reviews, but like that's life, bro. And my experience at Hillfest was very fun. So I bought my ticket for next year, and apparently there's going to be way more drifting. They're going to send drifters in big trains, so they're not going to have to wait in line like all the hill climb guys. I think there'll probably be several lines. And the whole cool part about that is like there's spectators all up and down the mountain that watch this event. Who doesn't want to see 8 to 10 drift cars come up in a train all the time? Like some people don't really like that drifting is used as like an exhibition. Dude, if I was in the crowd, that's what I want to see. I don't really care about hill climb. I want to see 8 cars going sideways off the rev limiter with huge plumes of smoke and and dragging a tire off a hill road that has 100-foot drop. Like that's what I want to see. And so that's where I'm just like, I'm your whore with lipstick, dude. I will put on a show for the people. I am an entertainer because I'm doing the shit that I want to see. And so sign me up, dude. So I'm stoked on that. It's just a good hang, like I said. So it's not taken too seriously. At least that's from what on the motorsports side of thing. It wasn't like from the hill climb to the drift guys. Everybody's just high-fiving and chilling. And like, it resonated with me because I'm just like, yeah, I like that. I like the energy here. That's what I want out of an event, as expensive as it may be. Felt good.
Whether you've got a drift car, a show car, a jacked up truck, or just a really nice daily, there's always one way you can make it have that next level of style. Throw some underglow on that bad boy. Be able to make sure that you use not just any product, but glow toed products. Why is that? Well, they come with pre-terminated connectors and lines, which means no crimping, soldering, or wiring involved other than hooking up to the battery. That's right, this is not your granddaddy's LED kit. They use 3M adhesive strips. They have all the mounting hardware to be able to use on multiple surfaces, detailed instructions, and a bunch of different freebies included in every order. Now, how do you save some money? You go to their website, www.glow-toad.com, and at checkout, make sure to use promo code THEDIRTDROP to be able to save 10% off your next order. To be able to see more of their work online, check them out on Instagram at Glowtoad Lighting. I think that event is similar to the Hyperfest vibe, just on a different scale because you've got different disciplines that want to meet up. I know they had a car show too,
Yeah.
and there was like a bunch of different things. So like all these different disciplines, like being able to go up to a hill climb racer and like check his car out, have questions, and then they come check your car out, and you're like, you learn so much just being. And then you talked about again giving advice and stuff like that. I think that the drift community still is probably the best community. Like if you just have a question, you walk up to another dude or girl at an event, it's like, hey, why is your car like that? No problem. Full transparency. There's no gatekeeping in drifting, really.
Yeah, not that I've found. I think the drifting community is one of my favorites that I've met. Everyone's just down. People will give you the shirt off your back, the jack, a tool, whatever. I've had guys give me tires because I ran out of tires and they were like, I want to keep having fun with you. Here's a full set of wheels. And I'm just like, what? That's awesome. Like, it's my favorite thing in the world. It's my favorite world to be in. And I want it to always feel that way. That's why some people get bogged down and they did this to that or what. I don't care. I'm not the guy to ask about the drama. I building a car and getting a car to work and doing 8 events a year is extremely dramatic. The pursuit of drifting at our level, which is, let's call it upper grassroots or whatever, is extremely expensive. It's extremely tiring. There's a lot of late nights. There's a lot of canceled plans. There's a lot of, sacrificed relationships, missed dinners, whatever it is you got to do to get these things done. Overtime, working nights and weekends. That's the drama. That's the part that I'm stoked on, So like everything that happens at the track should be fun and dope because I already suffered. I paid my dues getting this car, ripping out a transmission and putting another one in 24 hours. Like I did that so that I could go to the track and have fun and just giggle and laugh while we all destroy our cars together in unison.
Yeah. No, my anxiety is probably peaked all the way up until I'm unloading the car and starting it up outside the trailer after I've gotten the event. Everything 2 weeks, 2 months for that event. Yeah. It's just like, please, for the love of baby Jesus, please work. Please do. And
dude, yeah. My anxiety goes away as soon as I hit the highway. As soon as I have decided that I have everything that I need or don't need, or I've said, screw it. If I don't have it, I guess I don't need it. Once I hit the highway and I've got tunes on and a Red Bull in my hand, I'm like, it's going to be a great weekend. Whatever happens is going to happen.
And I mean, being able to be a part of a lot of these other, I would say, upper grassroots events, like, I mean, uh, events costing $400-500 for the weekend. I mean,
Yeah,
Hyperfest, Hill Climb. I mean, there's still value in that because on the back end, you get media. And I know trying to get your own media at events, I struggle with it immensely.
yeah,
And
totally futile for me. I have tried. I I'm sitting in my own podcast studio. I have $10,000 worth of camera gear, and the best video I ever film at a drift event, like I might film me unloading the car. I mean, as soon as I go on track, I forget what a GoPro is. You know,
yeah,
because
I
who
mean, we
cares? That's
were
not what I'm there. I'm not there to change batteries and memory cards. I'm there to drive. You know, so like, yeah. To your point, shout out all the media. I've met so many amazing media people in the last really 4 or 5 years. I've been taking drifting somewhat seriously. Like, you know, Shutter Slayer, shout out Chuck, and I'm gonna miss so many people's names, but like all the people that come to every single grassroots event, just know that I see you and I appreciate you. And anytime a media guy DMs me and it was like, "Hey, here's the album," I always offer to pay. I know some people are even controversial about that topic. Like, well, we brought the car that gave them up something cool to shoot. I'm like,
no.
I don't care,
Mm-mm.
bro. I'm gonna offer to pay a media guy every time because you did the thing. Like, that's how it works. Like, you did something that I appreciate and that I didn't have time to do. If you don't have time to do it yourself, you pay someone to do it for you. You know, like, and it's all
No, I
awesome. Like, dude, and then most people are like, please don't pay me. I'm doing this for fun. But like, I always offer because I'm like, it's the coolest stuff. I've gotten so much cool drone footage from 2024.
yes.
Like, there was a one of my favorites. It's not too deep on my Instagram right now. I was drifting on Maine at Drift Nirvana at Summit Point, and it's just the coolest follow shot from a drone I've ever seen. And it's like my favorite thing I've ever posted about drifting on my social media. And I can't
Well,
remember the
then
guy's name that posted. I'm so sorry.
no, and that's the thing. It's like more. I think just like more and more conversions from call it street drifting or grip driving into drifting or something like that. I've been seeing a lot more people that are not motorsports photographers just showing up to these events just because they're curious about drifting and they have this profession. So I don't know. What are some tips then? Since you've like you really made take this seriously, you said last 4 to 5 years. What are some tips that you would have to drivers to try to just start the conversation with these media guys or gals at events if you've never talked to one?
Yeah, well, I mean, most media guys I've met don't really discriminate as far as what cars they take photos and videos of. So like, you're probably going to be in multiple albums. I I hate how this trend started, but in drifting it actually makes a lot of sense. Like, put your Instagram on your car.
Yep.
It makes it so much easier. Like, I used to look at guys with like lifted trucks with their stupid Instagram and like a minty green font all over their window, and I'm like, nobody cares, dude. But now I'm just like, it's just a problem solver. Like, put your Instagram on your car. The photographer's probably going to see it in the pits when you're not around. They'll take note of that, and if they get anything cool, they're probably going to send it to you. If you're a more outgoing, proactive person, like, just go talk to the people that have cameras in their hands, you know? And like, media is the coolest, the best way to like stay hyped on drifting between events. Like, it's such a white girl thing to be like, oh my God, take me back to Cancun. But I totally am that person. I'm that person that like after Hyperfest, I have like the worst depression possible because I'm just like, oh, there was this hang. And then remember when that happened? And then we did that. And then I met this person and I high five that person and I almost hit that guy. Like, oh my God. So
No,
yeah,
it's
it's
one
sick.
thing I do want to add as a caveat. I was thinking about this when I was loading my trailer up one time, and as expensive as helmets are, it would behoove you if you are if you are trying
Are you about
to
to bring up what I think you're about to bring up?
it would behoove you to have a spare SA helmet just to be able to have for media people or anyone if you want to give ride-alongs or something like that, just to have that added, because that's the other thing too. There are some events where
You want to meet
spectators are not
girls?
allowed to
Yeah.
ride. Yeah, meeting girls is always a great thing. Um, but no, like I know there's some events. I think you've been to a couple of them where like no spectator ride-alongs, but if you're media, you can ride
Mm,
along. And I think that's one caveat to that. Spend the extra bucks on Amazon for an SA helmet just to guarantee some more
yeah,
in-car footage, and then creating that bond.
totally. I was at an event in Langley. It was either Bayside Bash or Battle at the Bay. I can't remember which one it was. Doesn't matter.
Was it
Both
this last
amazing.
year?
Yeah, 2024. Both
I
amazing
think it was
events.
Bayside.
Yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah.
non-comp event, just the bash
When I
event.
had the Corvette and we were doing dumb stuff and
Yeah.
just yeah.
Yeah, we did some I crashed. I don't know if you did.
I got crashed in two, and I
Yeah,
was a little salty.
that's right.
It
Um it happens. I
does.
actually I broke a lot of stuff in 2024 actually. Um what was I going to say? Oh, the ride-alongs. So in that
Mhm.
event, Bayside Bash, I pitted up front next to my buddies Sean and Kalen and those guys, Mark, James, and who have cool looking cars too, and they always get there. That's like their backyard, so like they got
Mhm.
there early and they set up a cool spot. And I had just wrapped the car, so I'm just like, I'm not normally this person, but I'm gonna show it off a little bit. Like people want to see it, I'm gonna put it up here. So I ended up pitting like up front, which is pitting in the middle of everything is so cool and also so annoying at the same time. Like it is cool to be like that's again back to like me putting my shoes in the 12-year-old kid's shoes. Like that's what I want to see. Like I want to see the stuff. I want to see people changing tires. I want to see people fixing stuff. I want to see people talking about. I want to see the people that do the drifting. So I'm not saying like I'm some amazing show pony for drifting, but like I try to think about that. I try to be like, I'm not hurting anybody parking up here,
Right.
and some people might like to see it. I giggle every time I see my car, so who's to say someone else won't? Um, so the amount of times I got asked for ride-alongs at an event that they weren't exactly well, they were allowing ride-alongs, but you had to have a helmet, obviously, and you
Mhm.
had to like go to the booth and like just like they do at Hyperfest, you had to like get a wristband, sign a waiver. I don't know if there was any money involved, but
Right.
maybe it was. If there was, it was nothing.
Mhm.
Shout out the U.S. Drift guys; they run amazing events. I mean,
Absolutely.
all my favorite events all year are like 80% of them are U.S. Drift events, and they do it safely. They do it right. It's fun and it moves, dude. The amount of time I sat in grid all last year was like minimal. I don't remember. And back in the Drift Valley days, no, just not to disparage those guys, but he would sit on grid forever, ever, and just like didn't know how to keep it moving, and we weren't that good at driving back then. We'd be spinning all the
It
time, and
was
whatever.
yeah.
Um, but it's this weird thing. Like I'm super pro ride along. Like anybody that's ever ridden with me knows that like I try to be engaging. I try to ask questions like, is this you ever been to a drift event before? You ever ridden in a drift car before? Are you ready? Right when we're about to go, like, you ready, dude? Or, fist bump. And then afterwards, like, what'd you think? And it's always that being said, sometimes whether it's you've just hit the wall or hit somebody or broken something, like you're not, and maybe this is just me. I don't know. I'm an extroverted introvert. Like my baseline is being an introvert. Like I love alone time or whatever, but as I'm sure you are, like
Yep.
you can turn it on. You can put the show on. Like I can be a very outgoing person, and it's not for any ulterior motive. It's just like it's the
Just how
person I
we
want
are. It's
to.
how we operate.
It's the
Yeah.
person I also want to like try to be. I want to get out of my own way. Put my BS aside, and just be like, these people don't want to hear your. It's so funny. This is coming full circle for me for a strange reason. But anyway, my point is you may not always be in the right mindset to be excited to answer somebody's questions or to want to take a ride along. Like I had several moments where the car was being weird. I may have bent something and I just wanted to go out and test it. And then, some kid that you said like, hey, check with me in an hour, I'll probably be ready, is like finally standing there with his helmet, like ready to go. And I'm like, dudes, I'm so sorry, but like, if I don't go figure out what's going on, I'm going to total this car, or I'll be in my head at this and that, like, so I need to go out alone. Stuff like that happens, and then you get all the different reactions. You get people that are like, oh, okay, yeah, man, no problem. Or you get that kid that's just like, oh, man, all right, just let me know later, and it's like, I feel bad, but at the same time, like, I'm not here for you. I'm here for me. The fact that I'm stoked on you guys seeing it, and I want to offer that as often as I can, but it's not about you. Is that mean to say? Like,
no, all right. I'll give a counterpoint since we're at the same event. I had the black Corvette. I was helping Mike Perez do the announcing for like the burnout contest and like
yeah,
stuff like that.
You guys were great, by the way.
We had a lot of fun, and I'm really hoping to be able to do that again. But no, I had the Corvette, and that thing, put tires on it and gas and just go.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to get a line for ride-alongs, and the
Yeah.
amount, not pressure, but like, all right, do I have enough tires? Did I put enough fuel in it? Am I going to be able to take? And of course, at the end of the night, I think it was like probably half hour left. I was in a train, and a little happened, and I got ran into, and I had this 6 or 7 people waiting when I got back, and I'm just like, I turned into a person I didn't want to be. I got frustrated. I got vocal. I invented a lot of new swear words, and like I had choice words to say about the other driver, and I regret
yelling obscenities. Never.
Okay, the only reason why it hit me so hard, and I had to go back and like apologize to the guy. There were children around, and I mean, I get NASCAR has fights in the pits and Bowman Gray Stadium and all this stuff, but you forget, like, you're a freaking superhero at those events if you're a drifter. And you've got these 15, 14, 5-year-olds walking around. You burn that image into their brain, and if you're not careful and you kind of heads on a swivel, you're gonna say or do something that could make our sport look negative, and I don't think that's a good thing. So
or like really alter this person's understanding of it. Of who knows? The butterfly effect's crazy. You could even equate it to on like a drastic level of like being a parent. Like, you need to make sure you're not downloading all your BS into your kid's brain. Like, you should pay attention to how you're coming off and what you're saying. It's not always easy to do. In fact, it's very hard to do constantly. So, but it shows a lot about who you are, that you wanted to go back and be like, look, I was stressed. It's not who I am. Sorry for this and that. Like, yeah, it's there's so much adrenaline at the track. Like, your blood is pumping so fast, that things are happening so fast, and it's like the stakes are, it's not the highest. Grassroots drifting is certainly not the highest stakes motorsport in the world, but like, it at the scale that we operate at, like, you and I are just basically small business owners that are doing this with the money that we save up throughout the year. Like, the stakes are high. Like, if I total that car really at any point during the year, whatever I was planning to do with it afterward, I know I'm not going to be able to rebuild it fast enough to do all that. So my year's over. And so that's a lot of it. And it's really like, my mom has horses. That's her thing. This is my thing. This is the thing that I do that brings me joy. It's one of the few things in the world that when I'm doing it, all the noise in my head goes away and I can turn my brain off and do it. Like, it'd be like if you told me I couldn't, play video games anymore, or have sex anymore. It's like taking one of my favorite things away. And my girlfriend, if she's listening, I love you very much, and I'm very happy, and I cannot wait to wine and dine you at some point soon.
Tay, I'm gonna tell. This is going to the internet.
No, my girlfriend's a scumbag. She would be laughing. She's laughing her ass off right now, I'm sure.
Bless her heart. Well, and so again, that's the other thing too. It's like, you also want to be a good person for the people that you're there at the track with. Like, a lot of times we'll go to the track by ourselves. We get the car on the trailer. We drive the car to the track. We drive the car at the track. We fix the stuff that breaks. Then we load the car back up. Then we drive back home. if there's anyone else to help us, like that definitely brings our stress down. So if there's a problem, you just have to try to remember, all right, am I going to be a piece of garbage,
Yeah.
or am I just going to swallow this in, go inside the enclosed for a minute, or just to go inside the truck for a minute and then come back out and then just be ready to face the world? Like,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. I mean, you have no insulation. You know, it's not Hollywood actors have their trailers. You even have your toter home, you fancy bougie girl.
you are more than welcome to come hang out with
Yeah.
my fake fireplace and my Roku TV whenever you
Hell
want.
yeah. Yeah. Um, no, it's all good, man. But like, you're human. And like the thing I said earlier about feeling full circle is when I was on that television show, and which was based around Black Dog Salvage, a local business that's still operating in Roanoke, Virginia. We all worked there. All of us that were on the show, we all worked. Like, we didn't have anybody that came in, and we weren't like the Pawn Stars or the American Pickers, you know, who would just go do the show and then they have other people run their business. Like, we worked there every day. Like, as I was on national television, I was also building custom furniture in the shop, running the register, like operating forklifts and like shipping and receiving. Like, it was still a family business. So people would come travel. We became a tourist destination. Like, people would come all up and down the East Coast, all around the country, Europe, you know, New Zealand, Australia, all places. We've saw people from all over the world come visit us. And every time they came in, if they saw any of us from the show, they would want the experience. They don't consider the fact that you might be having a bad day. They just see one of their favorite people from the show and they're just like, "Oh, I have so many questions for you." Like, you know, what's it like? I didn't, you know, all these questions that I answered over and over and over again. And I tried to answer them with a smile on my face because, like, that's what you do when you're in the entertainment world. Whether or not you're happy, just try to be happy. Sometimes I would trick myself into being happy. So there's a little therapy trick for you. Sometimes happiness is a decision. Most of the time it's not, but sometimes it is.
I mean, definitely for the grassroots level, you don't think about interaction when you're so focused on building a car, trying to get your skill ready, and progress as a driver. One thing I definitely noticed is some of these people who want to make that jump from pro am into pro spec. They're just, again, maybe naturally introverted people. So like I'm not talking like Ricky Bobby, what do I do with my hands?
Yeah.
But it's the point where you have to learn how to communicate effectively. You have to be just a little bit polished. And I'm not saying go out and, be prim and proper, but communication is going to be the one way, and how you come off is how you get sponsors, how you be able to make more connections, how you grow in the industry. You and I have had some interactions with some individuals in the drift world that are just not polished. And it really kind of goes to show people's true nature when the cameras are off, when it's just you and them in a room or whatever, or over
Yeah.
Messenger. So maybe what is one tip that you could give to some of these drivers that, okay, how do I become better at just being authentic and then just trying to be able to convey a positive image for myself in
Yeah.
the drifting community?
Well, I mean, the only way to look authentic or look positive is to be authentic and be positive. You know, like, there's no shortcut. It really, if you really want to have this conversation, the thing to talk about is what's wrong with our world right now, which is that we spend so much effort creating a person or a persona or a show or a lifestyle on social media, whatever your channel is, whatever video form on the internet you've chosen. And it's so backwards because the things that do well are things that look authentic, but because you're doing it for someone else, it's inherently not authentic. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's impossible for that to ever be truly authentic. So I don't know, do you watch Cletus McFarlane on YouTube?
Yeah, no, I don't watch all of his stuff, but I mean, I like to jump in. I mean, he puts out a video every other hour,
Yeah, and
so I can't keep up with him.
he's a millionaire and he edits all those videos himself on his laptop. Like, I don't know if it's like he's like sober or religious, like there's some secret society thing going on. That dude is as close as I've seen to someone who has made it as an influencer. No one has any bad things to say about him at all.
Yeah.
He's hilarious, he's outgoing, and he seems completely and totally authentic because I think he is. Like, he doesn't hide the fact that he has sponsors. He doesn't hide the fact that, you know, the YouTube channel is why he's able to build a custom house on an airstrip, but he brings people with them so that people don't feel like they're being used as a stepping stone. They get to experience this person that they've come to love do things that they wish they could also do. So I guess there's a lesson in that. Like, don't do it because you want to gain followers or become an influencer or get sponsors. Do it because you love it, and film it because you want to share it. That's how I try to think about it. Like, I'm filming this thing that I think is interesting, and then you're just offering it up. You're just like, I think this is very interesting, and here it is for free. Maybe you think it's interesting too. You know, like that. That's the governing body of like my YouTube channel and anything I do. I'm just like, I'm not going to try to sell you something unless it's Lift Arc Studios merch. liftarcstudios.com. But you get what I'm saying? Like, there are no shortcuts, and you can only lie for so long. Like, you can only fake it for so, like, if you're an asshole and you're trying to portray yourself as some genuine, awesome guy when the camera's on, but you're an asshole when the camera's off, guess what? People are going to find out. You know, like, it might take forever, you know. You could make the same analogy about being a piece of crap in a small town versus being a piece of crap in a big city. Like, it's a lot more detrimental to be an asshole in a small town versus being a dickhead in New York, because in New York, if you run all your friends off in this one community, we'll just move 20 streets up and make all new friends. And these people don't know the kind of a-hole you just were over here, and you can reinvent yourself. I actually like the mirror that a small town holds up in front of your face, because it actually forces you to look at yourself and go, is this the person that I'm presenting to these people? Is this somebody I like? Is this somebody I want to hang out with? And I think it's good for people to have self-reflection moments like that. And in many ways, becoming a content creator kind of is like, you need to watch, obviously, what you're doing. You're editing yourself or whatever. Well, I hope you like the person you're putting on camera, because if you're editing these videos all the time, you're going to have to like it, unless you just become some delusional sociopath that just like tricks yourself into liking the bad version of you. I don't, you know, it's so dystopian. There's like no easy way to talk about it.
I think you hit the nail on the head with social media too. Now specifically about grassroots drifting, what's one thing that you think social media has helped with grassroots drifting? What do you think one thing that social media negatively affects grassroots drifting?
Sure. Well, for starters, social media helps people become aware of drifting. I mean, the sport is growing faster now than it ever has, and that has to be because of social media. I mean, the first people in America that learned about drifting was because of magazines and like bootleg DVDs. You know what I mean? And like, you know, of poorly translated or maybe not even translated like shows in Japan. I got mine
downstairs, so I'm guilty as well.
Yeah. So information just travels so much faster now, and that can be good and that can be bad. I think, though, on the whole, it's good for drifting because it's easier to find parts, it's easier to find events, it's easier to meet people, join clubs, find people, just like the whole point of Facebook or whatever, MySpace, social media. Originally, if you Zoomers have lost the point of social media, the point was to find people with common interests and celebrate whatever your interest is, just like a forum, you know, like community. I'm a horse person in a town where I don't know any horse people. Equestrian group on Facebook, or you know, like that's drifting. Is that part of drifting is made better every day on the whole, because of, you know, how fast things are communicated. So I think it's good. I think like anything, social media can amplify good and it can also amplify bad. So if somebody's hosting events and stealing money from people, or, you know, taking advantage of people to advance their own driver career, or whatever, doing whatever scumbag stuff that they might be doing, social media also amplifies that. So whatever negative thing that might sway you from getting into drifting, you might see it because of social media. You might see it more easily than you would have otherwise. And then you're like, I don't want to be around this person, or I don't want to be at that track with that owner who may do awful things to women. You know, things like that might be perpetuated faster because of social media. So I don't know. I think social media is a bad place to start for drifting. I think you should go to a drift event and you should meet people. I don't think you should take yourself to the Facebook school of drifting. I think you should find a person that is going to a drift event, you know, befriend them, you know, don't be annoying, but just say, hey, I want to learn more about drifting. I'll drive myself, or if you can't drive yet, have your, you know, get your mom to drive you, or ride with a friend. Like, just go see it. Go see a beginner, intermediate, grassroots drift event. I promise you, you will see the happiest people on earth. You'll see people that are having the best day of their life, and they are stoked, and they're high-fiving, and they're doing crazy stuff and that we used to think was illegal and you could never do. That's the point. Start there, and then find what you like, find the people you like, and just stay in touch with them on Facebook or social media, and share videos, share tips, network, set up meets, help each other work on each other's cars. Like, then use social media to reinforce the positive. That's all.
But oh yeah, no big deal. That's all. Just the soapbox moment, but no big deal. But no, I think those are fantastic points, and you get away so far from the center when you're so invested and you're so focused. And you're trying to build something that some people may have forgotten, like the fundamentals of why things exist and why we came from this to go to this, and it's going to affect where we go just based on how we treat what's going on now. In our final moments, I do have one wonderful question that I ask everybody. If you could give one piece of advice to young drifter Tay when he was first getting into drifting to probably change how what would you say to yourself?
I would not have built like a full-on drift car as soon. I think I would have, if the E46 was the chassis, I would have just, and it wasn't quite the support. Like, FDF Race Shop wasn't really around back then. Like, it wasn't quite the support. I think there was SPL made suspension.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. I would have stuck with a largely stock chassis, I think, a little longer, put a handbrake in that car, put a diff in that car, and just, outrun the car, like use up everything that car had first, which I know I said I did before, but I really meant like in its stock form. Like, that car could have been modified pretty simply. Now I look back on it, like welding a diff, I'm a welder, and I was then too, it's very, very easy. And an angle kit is really not that big of a deal. Like, FDF has like $1,000 angle kits for most cars, so I would have stuck with a chassis longer. I wouldn't have put all that money all into one crazy build right up front and done all that. But I'm glad I did. I'm just so thankful I had the stock car drifting experience first, because that can be such a detriment for someone. Build this crazy powerful car that they've never driven in stock form. They don't know what it's supposed to feel like, and then they get lost in the settings. So yeah, I mean, it's always back to ride-alongs, people that have never done it, people are always like, how do I get into it? Where did I start? I've even had guys, this has happened so many like at least 5 times last year. Somebody would ask me straight up, like, well, how much does it cost to build a car like this? And I'm like, that's such a stupid question. Like, I can't even answer that question. Also, don't ask people what they spend on stuff. That's just rude.
Absolutely
all right?
not.
Like, unless you're friends with them. Like, I'll give my friends shit for spending too much money on stuff, but we're friends. Yeah, you have way too many cars. I'm just gonna say it. I don't know why you have so many cars.
I got a
Um,
problem.
yeah, and that's fine. I had 5 cars at one point, and I downsized. Now I have 2, and a truck, and a
Yeah.
trailer, and I'm sitting in a 1970s RV that doesn't run. Point is, um, yeah, I give everyone the same advice. I'm like, buy the cheapest manual rear-wheel drive chassis you can possibly find. Weld the diff, make sure your brakes are adjusted the right way, and go nuts. Go throw it into a corner. Get it loose, man. Kick the clutch, pull the e-brake until something starts working, just like I did in that skid pad at VIR. Till something starts working, and then the gears, I promise you, the gears will start meshing up top. You'll be like, oh, if I hit the corner a little faster, I'll slide for longer. And then, oh, if I let the car drive itself a little bit here instead of trying to drive everything myself, it gets easier, like you just got to do it, and you got to do it a lot. And so the only way to do something a lot when you don't have any money is to do it very cheaply. So the cheapest way to go drifting is exactly what I just said. Find the cheapest rear-wheel drive manual car, weld the diff, or not. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I learned how to drift in an open diff. Just go throw a rear-wheel drive car at a corner and then go, yay!
I
LS
love it.
400, 350Z, E36, plenty of options. Miata if you have to. I can't fit in them, so I can't
Nope.
speak on it.
Can't fit
But
either. No.
yeah,
Oh,
anyway,
well,
good
no,
luck
that
out there.
and that I think is a fantastic way to end, just because the positivity and this last even half hour of just like finding the problem, pushing through it, and just remembering that this is a sport that's about having fun.
It's the whole point. If it
Yeah.
becomes not fun, then something went completely AWOL.
Keep drifting fun. That's all we can say.
Brilliant branding on those guys' parts for sure.
They did fantastic. So I would love to know more about Mr. Tay Whiteside. How can I be able to find more information on everything Mr. Tay?
Sure. Well, I have several social media platforms that I neglect. You can check me out on any of them. My Instagram is just at Tay Whiteside. That's where most of my car photos and videos end up. I did start a second YouTube channel called Lift Art Garage, which I'm trying to. I have a whole year's worth of drift event footage that I have not edited. Who knows if anything will end up there? But if you just feel like throwing out useless subscribes, just subscribe to Lift Art Garage. Lift Art Studios is the main channel. That's where we do all of our fabrication projects and welding tips and tricks and stuff like that. That's it. I don't really have any products to plug, or I don't have a book out or a movie out, or I have a podcast that I don't stay on top of, so it's not even worth it. I just have all this mic gear for moments like this. Feels good.
It is more than appreciated. And sir, again, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to talk drifting, bro up, and really kind of remember that we all started from somewhere, and you can too if you want to be able to support it. So again, thanks
Yeah.
to Tay Whiteside. I am Chris DeBoard. You can find me, Chris DeBoard, on Facebook, at Debo the Comic on Instagram. We are The Dirt Drop on YouTube. Everybody, I will see you next time. Be safe, have fun, stay out of the dirt.
Thanks, man. See ya.
And that's it. We're done.